And welcome to another episode of Who Gives a Hoot, special Open Cup edition. And I'm solo from the normal cast, but we're joined by Liam.
Let's go, bring it on.
I don't even know what to call you anymore. Professional journalist that occasionally slums for Who Gives a Hoot.
This is a passion project for me.
All right. Yeah. So obviously we're going to be previewing the Open Cup, but Union Omaha had a nice draw versus Charlotte. Yeah,
nap time.
Yeah, I mean 0-0 draw, but it was essentially a keeper battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rashid had to pull out some decent saves there. Whoever Charlotte's keeper was made some insane saves to keep it scoreless. So, but our guys got the weekend to rest. Unlike St. Louis, who I'm not subscribing to Apple MLS, what extra access, whatever the hell it is. I'm not supporting domestic journalism. But I believe you did watch that, Liam. Did they play their starters? Like they
let me get out in front. Let me get out in front of this. I love Apple
yeah.
TV. I'm an Apple TV stan. I support everything they're doing. I have the occupation of a journalist. But some may say I'm poor, but I can
You're a journalist.
I can scrum up enough money to pay for this great thing. But I watched. For those new listeners, I live in Kansas City, but so I staunch SKC supporter. So we're doing really well this year, and so I got to watch.
So good.
I watched them play New England last night, and then quickly saw a turn of events where I was like, all right, I'm turning on St. Louis. And for those that don't know, my parents and my brother live in St. Louis, so I moved from Omaha to St. Louis. So I have weird ties to St. Louis as well as Omaha and Kansas City. It's crazy. But
you're a big fan of St. Louis pizza, aren't you?
Oh, yikes. No, I am not. Better than Godfather's, though.
That doesn't take much.
But I went to a St. Louis game earlier this season. They played San Jose 3-0. And for the Omaha people traveling to this game, oh my gosh, you're in for a treat. This is like the coolest stadium I've ever been to in my life. The field is below ground, so you come off of the street and the first stands you hit off of the street is the upper deck. It's so sick. That's the new city.
How's the drainage?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
It wasn't raining because I think it's going to be raining on Tuesday.
Well, we're gonna find out.
And so it's going to be a swimming pool by the time we're there.
Yeah, bring your snorkel, folks. But the field is sick, and then across the street to the south is their entire training facility too. So it's all within like 100 feet of each other. The entire complex of St. Louis City. It's so cool, and it's like the pinnacle of MLS soccer. So if the Omaha people are going down there, just walk around, enjoy yourself, because that is the premier MLS soccer team right now. Not just from a results standpoint, but from facility and the city loves them and some of that. It's really cool spot so far.
Wait a second. Are you saying a downtown soccer stadium is successful in a Midwestern city?
Yeah, isn't that a shocking statement?
Oh wow. I never would have believed that.
So yeah, good luck, Mayor Stothard. Let's bring that to downtown Omaha, which would be sick.
Well, no, she's in St. Louis, isn't she? I'm pretty sure she's splitting most of her time there.
Vacation
got something. Yeah. Oh well, boyfriend or something of that nature.
I don't do
that's your future.
Oh Lord, help me if that's my future.
Sports journalism and politics.
We'll get into it a little bit later, but the Omaha versus St. Louis culture war, we could get into that later, but there's some fun things about St. Louis culture inside the stadium that I'd love to talk about. But For those that don't really follow the MLS or St. Louis City at all, like they have been off to like a monumental start. Like they won the most games in a row to start the season from an expansion side. It's just been unbelievable. They did hit kind of a bump in the road, but that's expected at the MLS. They lost back-to-back games to Minnesota and to Seattle, and those are two teams that are going to make the playoffs too. So like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
But they followed it by beating Cincinnati. That was April 15th, 5-1. And that was a statement game
And
because
Cincinnati's been solid.
Cincinnati was people's preseason pick to go to the finals or make a real run at it, and to just demolish them 5-1 at home. And Cincinnati's goal was late, like 80th minute ish, and it meant nothing. So, yeah, St. Louis is really good at home. And then this past weekend they played the Rapids and they tied 1-1, but um, they actually got outclassed for a majority of it. The first 45, the Rapids just had control of the ball pretty easily, and then there was a good minute from 50th minute to the 70th minute where St. Louis found their groove. That's where they nicked their first goal, and it was 1-0 for a while, and then Colorado equalized in like the 90th minute, which was crazy because the Rapids have scored 90th minute equalizers in like back-to-back games or something like that. But if you like Tottenham, you're gonna like St. Louis. All they do is
who likes Tottenham?
Yeah, exactly. Especially after today. Uh, but St. Louis loves playing back and loves inviting pressure, and then they love counterattacking. That's where they do all of their damage. And their starting striker, João Klaus, has been one of the biggest bright spots for St. Louis this season. He came from Germany 2 years ago or last year. He played at Hoffenheim for a while. So
Okay.
that's where he came from. He's a Brazilian dude, but he did come off in the 75th minute with a knock against Colorado. So who knows if we'll see him? But the one guy that I'm sure St. Louis will play is Gioacchini or something. He's a 20-year-old, 21-year-old from Kansas City, homegrown sporting guy that left to go to St. Louis City's academy. So that's a huge rivalry amongst the Kansas City St. Louis faithful. But he has been like a rock star. So he's got 3 goals in 9 matches and has an assist. So he's going to be a stud, super fast and really technical on the ball. So he's really good. But I would be shocked if we see Roman Berkey play the keeper for St. Louis. But if he does play, that's an extra treat. He had like 10 saves against Colorado yesterday. So I'd be shocked if we see him, but cool opportunity for people that go to the game to see him play, which is always sick. He's the former Dortmund keeper that played for the Swiss national team for a little while. But that's kind of like my short synopsis. I don't really know much else about the young guys of St. Louis. I'm not really that ingrained in the roster, but it would be interesting to see maybe some of these Academy 2 teams. I know that Union Omaha played STL City 2 in the preseason warmup. That was kind of behind closed doors. So, but yeah, it was a cool opportunity. So at least the guys that are going down there for Union Omaha on Tuesday kind of familiar with the surroundings already. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they toured the stadium and stuff back in, I think that was February that happened.
Yeah. And I mean, I think we've talked about it before on the pod with Bobby Murphy, former assistant coach under Jay Mims. He's down there coaching St. Louis too. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see him in the dugout with the St. Louis squad for this match.
Right.
That gives them a fun advantage there. You have Christian, who was our third keeper with their second team. So it's both. I think both St. Louis 2 and St. Louis 1 played this past weekend or this weekend, which may work towards Union Omaha's benefit.
Right.
You know, they had a couple days rest. It's not a crazy long road trip. A little bit shorter than similar distance to Chicago, which was where we started out our MLS battles last year.
And that'll be the interesting thing for St. Louis too, St. Louis as well, because They aren't in the Champions League. They aren't in another cup
Yeah.
competition. This is their cup competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how they rotate their squad, because this is the first time they've only played on Saturdays
Yeah.
throughout the entire season. So the guys are used to a week rest. Now we got a short, only 2 days to recover. So it'll be interesting how, maybe the staff of St. Louis kind of resets their roster, and maybe you'll be able to see new players and stuff like that too. So that's kind of interesting. But I do want to touch upon last year with the Union Omaha run. Like, played Chicago, there were no fans there. You played
Yeah.
Minnesota and it was freezing cold. There was also no fans there. Like, granted, you got to go out and beat the MLS teams, and they did, and it was fantastic. But this St. Louis side, the fans are inaugural season. They're crazy. They're super passionate. This is going to be almost a sold out crowd. This is going to be akin to the Sporting KC type of atmosphere, I would say.
So yeah, so I was talking to a couple friends yesterday, and they're saying that St. Louis has apparently already sold over 13,000 seats to this. I mean,
Wow.
this being their first cup tie,
Right.
it's a huge opportunity for their fans. It's a weeknight too, so I don't know 100% like what their commuter culture is, but if people are already in the city, it's right down there, right after work. So get a game in. It's not football, so you're done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I Union Omaha is not bringing as many as it did to Kansas City, which is a little unfortunate. Kansas City has a total of 3 points after 9 games played, and those 3 points are not from a win; they're from 3 separate draws. I wish we were playing them this year because they seem to be in shambles. Their fan support, I think, would be even less. But Union Omaha going to St. Louis, I think there's about 200 fans traveling, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing. St. Louis is still close. Like, don't get us wrong. Like, that's you're playing an MLS team that's close. Like, we could be going to Houston or something like crappy like that. Like, that is the nice thing. Like, if the Union Omaha supporters can take the days off of work, like, this is a great opportunity to go see a brand new stadium, a great team, support Union Omaha, and a great opportunity in the greatest cup in American sports. Like, it's just it's a really win-win, even though it is kind of far away and on a weekday. But this is second best to being able to play St. Louis or playing Kansas City, I would say.
Yeah, and I think the fact it is a brand new stadium, seeing it in its first season, expansion side, it's going to be a fun match regardless of the scoreline. Also, they don't have supporters that have been around for 20 years and get bitter when they win 6-0 and pick fights. But that being said, the rotation, I'm going to be very interested to see. Know there are a fair amount of Dortmund fans that would like to see Berkey play against Union Omaha because personally, and take this for what it is, I think it's going to be, if Berkey's in there, you've got a battle between the 2 best keepers in American soccer right now.
Not gonna lie. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I mean, Rashid showed up, even that 6-0 loss, like that was a team falling apart, but the saves he was making during that game, he knows how to show up against an MLS side. He's been in these tense situations before, which Berkey similarly has done the same. Like, he's played internationally, he's played at major cup competitions, like he's played Bundesliga, which is drawing massive fans. But if they rotate their keeper, I don't know. I don't know anything about their backup keeper.
So their backup keeper for Saturday against Colorado is this guy named Benjamin Lund, a German dude. This is the interesting thing about St. Louis, is that their entire offense is from the Germany area. So they're picking up. Very crazy.
They picked up so many players from Germany, which is great as a Bundesliga fan. Seeing this talent come into the U.S. and the fact that guys who've played in Germany are doing so well in the MLS.
So
But
This backup goalie, he played, club soccer growing up at Hertha Berlin. Shout out Hertha Berlin club legend Bobby Wood. Um, um, but he played a lot of his before St. Louis, where he got to St. Louis, a lot of time at Phoenix Rising, and then Cincinnati when they're in the USL as well. So he does have a lot of USL experience. So a good matchup for Union Omaha if he gets the start in
yeah,
the 26.
I mean that's definitely good considering how many championship guys we have and like journeyman championship guys we brought in, who probably have played against him. I'd have to go back and scroll through every single matchup, but with like Steven Dos Santos in there, who's tenured in championship, like that's I'm sure that's a matchup that's seen. Um, the interesting thing, like when I was looking through on the roster, and looking at who was subbing on for later in the game, figuring these guys might be getting a little bit of a run before starting, is uh, Indiana Vasiliev. I'm butchering last name, but he went to Aston Villa. He's one of the success stories of USL academies, coming out of the Tormenta Academy, going over to Aston Villa, signing a first team contract there, getting a few runs in the Premier League before being put on loan back to the MLS. And that's going to be one he may not have actually played against any of these guys, but knowing the sort of style and seeing how Tormenta has done over the past couple of years and how they've grown, they've really been working that pipeline. So having some experience there, having some of that USL experience, it's not soccer. Like if you play well, you're going to do. It doesn't matter if you have the championship experience, the USL League One experience, but I think it does just kind of fit with the mindset of knowing what some of these guys that are on Union Omaha squad, how they're coming up, how they're thinking might play into it.
Absolutely, Luke. And Indiana has like stolen starting spots over the past couple of weeks for St. Louis. I think they didn't start him on Saturday in preparation for the Cup because he didn't start the first two games of the season, but then during their run, he was the starting number 10, maybe even pushing further up in during that win streak. And then they didn't start him in this last game against the Rapids, I think in preparation for Union Omaha.
Well,
but it's kind of crazy. He's got this name and everyone knows his name, but he's only 22 years old, which is just fascinating. He's so young still.
I mean, he's definitely one of the success stories of the USL Academy system, and really has a high ceiling in US soccer in general. But looking at the Thought Mob stats from Saturday, he came on at halftime, so rest him for the first half, put him on the second half to be an influence in there. And
yeah, it might have been more tactical too to try and get 3 points, because St. Louis was kind of inept in the attacking third there, so they put him on and the team reacted really well. So I think it was both and like, hey, we're not going to start you because we're going to play Union Omaha, but we still want you to have a role in this game because we want 3 points.
But I much prefer an inept St. Louis side. Like that's kind of what I'm hoping for. More something.
That's going to be hard. I'll be flat out about it.
No, they have such a well-built squad that I think it's going to be tough for us going in there. We've got the pieces that can definitely work there. The striker pairing for Union Omaha, I think, is going to be a very interesting one, because experience-wise and physicality-wise, you have to start Dos Santos there. And Noe's been so good for us this season, just on and off the ball, and has the cup experience. But Steinwasser getting some runs out there, I think could be a very, very interesting mix if we want to go in full attack. throw more of our attacking pieces in from the get-go, try and score an early goal, and then buckle down. But and you've watched more St. Louis than I have, because the total amount of St. Louis games I've watched is nil. But our defense is still pretty strong.
Right.
With Junior back there, with Lecty, Shaft has been filling in. I think Dion has a broken hand. I don't know if he'll be available. We've got Mueller, who's been in, like, we've got a great rotation in the back line. And as we've talked about in the pod over this season, the most depth in defense that we've had in Union Omaha history to date. So if we're able to maximize our defense later on in the game, throw on more defensive pieces and score an early goal. But with St. Louis's defense, do you think, honest opinion wise, at this point, do you think Union Omaha's offense with guys like Brito, Gil, Dos Santos, Meza can break through that?
So I think there could be some half chances here and there. Like
Okay.
Tim Parker's the starting center back for them. And if you like MLS, Tim Parker, he's kind of bounced around from team to team. But he struggled against the Rapids due to pace on the
Yeah.
wings. And then just St. Louis just isn't as good on the ball when they have possession. So this is kind of how they lost against Minnesota a couple weeks ago. St. Louis had about 60% of the possession to their to Minnesota's 40. So that's when I said, if you like Tottenham, like, you like watching St. Louis, because St. Louis doesn't want to have the ball. They want to break.
Nobody likes Tottenham today. Stop bringing
No
up
one likes
Tottenham.
Tottenham. I know, but that's the only way I can think about it. But they love playing off the ball, and they like
Yeah.
pressing, and they like playing in transition. And if Union Omaha can just sit back and withstand the first 20, 30 minutes and let St. Louis just pass the ball around and then use their style of offense to attack. So it all comes down to, can we put away a half chance? Can we do it? Because if you can, then St. Louis is going to struggle, because then we're just going to pack it we're going to park the bus, and they won't be able to play their best style, which is a free-flowing open game of soccer.
So that's where I think a guy like JP coming in, and he's had, I think most of his success has been those half chances that he's able to capitalize on. For not to take away from the skill, I mean, he's been on Union Omaha since the get-go, but he's a lucky player.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, he's good, but there's a fair amount of luck in how he's been able to capitalize throughout his professional career with Union Omaha. And he's definitely showed up in a lot of ways. And we talked about how his absence at the last home match at Caniglia was it just him being in there for those cross balls. He has this insane ability, and it's something Jay Mims was one of the reasons why Jay Mims signed him. Apparently, was the guy can get up.
Yeah.
Like he's not super tall. He's 6'1", which isn't short, but he can get up above guys who are 6'5" and just put balls away. Like he's great with his head, throwing that forward, getting some set pieces, drawing some fouls. I think that's going to be part of our strategy. Do I think we have guys that are good enough at diving?
Remains to be seen.
Yeah, because I think that might be where part of this game comes down to, is if Union Omaha can draw the fouls. I think St. Louis is going to be a little bit surprised by the physicality of our team. This team does seem more physical than in past seasons. Guys like Junior Palacios out there who Junior's a guy I admire because he's so physical, but I worry that he's going to get a red card just because he is that physical. Uh, keeping the pressure up, whether we're going to be able to keep the high press or not is going to be interesting to see. But if a guy like Noe, he's definitely embellished a few fouls this year from what I can see. I've yet to independently confirm that, but he seems like he's taken some tumbling classes. And while I don't love watching that in a league match, seeing that against an MLS side, I think could be just what we need to really force the issue.
It's hard to compare League One to MLS. It
Yeah.
is. But allowing only 3 goals in 5 games is as good as you can do versus the teams that you play. And that should give that back line and Rashid, obviously. Rashid's always going to have a lot of confidence. He should,
Are you calling him
which is
cocky?
warranted. No, warranted confidence. But that should go in with the back line being like, hey, we can do this. And if they see the starting 11, and I expect St. Louis to not put out the toughest, their full 11 because of them just playing on Saturday, it might give them just an inkling of hope. And as time builds, we all know, the more hope you build, the more pressure goes on the Giants. So I think I mean, I hate to be an optimist and be like, hey, there's a chance, but I feel like there's a better chance of this than versus Kansas City last year.
I don't want to be as optimistic as you, but
the only thing is the rotated roster has me interested because we knew Kansas City was struggling at the time last year, so they were going to play everyone. And they did. Johnny Russell and Daniel Shalhoub looked great against Union Omaha and poured in goals. And
that's the only time they did last year.
And that was their goal. That was their goal because they were struggling in the domestic, so they wanted to go as far along in the cup. This is the first game of the cup competition for St. Louis, and so they're going to rotate their roster. So I don't think, I'm not predicting a win, but I think it's not going to be as big of a blowout as Kansas City.
So I'd say Chicago played a better lineup against us than Minnesota did.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're going to see something more like Chicago, where they're playing rotated starters, like guys that could be starting but aren't, versus Minnesota, where granted Minnesota threw 2 DPs against us, but the rest of their squad was pretty rotated, and we ended up with a 2-0 win.
Well, the fascinating thing about St. Louis is that a lot of their starters and a lot of their guys coming off, like you talked about, Indiana Vasiliev, are all young dudes, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these MLS, like Sporting last year, Johnny's in his 30s and Daniel Shalhoub is, has been around the MLS for a while. Like a lot of these St. Louis dudes are young guys. So they're going to rotate probably Berkey or Klaus, who are, a little more veteran type soccer players. But Giochini, the starting striker, like I said, he's 22. Their left back, John Nelson, he's 24. And then like Indiana Vasiliev's in his early 20s too, so he's going to start. So it's like these guys with MLS experience in a rotated roster are still young dudes. So interesting because they are good enough to play in the MLS side, and they've shown their capabilities, but they haven't shown their capabilities in a cup environment, a one-off game. Will these young kids be able to handle the pressure against a short rest against a Union Omaha team that has rest, that has experience from last year or just years of playing in the championship and beyond? So it's really fascinating where majority of these MLS teams are littered with older guys, like older late 20s, early 30s. You know what I mean?
What are you saying? Robin Berkey is a young guy?
I wish. So that's where it's fascinating. It's going to be a really interesting game because a lot of the guys that St. Louis are going to play are young dudes, but have MLS experience versus Union Omaha with olderish players that have championship and Open Cup experience. So, I mean, what's going to play out? It's going to be fascinating.
Well, I mean, it's definitely interesting to me because in one respect, I want us to win this. But in another way, I want us to kind of showcase our players because, with Ryan Jiba last year, his performance against Minnesota United got him a first team contract. Like, that's a good step. Obviously, winning the match is going to make it more appealing for a side, but putting in these guys that are they could be playing at a higher level, but haven't gotten, didn't get scouted at the right age or anything like that. This is a great opportunity. And looking at the straight business aspect of it, Union Omaha can make money off of it if they put guys out there that perform well, even if we lose, perform well and then catch the eye of somebody else.
Look at this capitalist part of who gives a hoot. This is disgusting. You're siding with ownership.
Hey.
Sorry, Gary.
All I know is apparently Union Omaha was not given a suite, an owner's suite for this match. So Gary Green's going to be there in the supporters section. There's a high of 50 on Tuesday in St. Louis. So we're going to be freezing our asses off out there. Maybe warming up with some of. I mean. Is Budweiser still St. Louis's finest, even though it's Belgian now?
Yeah, get a citywide if you're there.
All right. But you're definitely going to see Rashid in goal for Union Omaha. As far as our defensive line, Milanese and Miller have been kind of swapping out on the left back spot. And that's under Jay Mims. That was always our player that can aspire to much higher. Damia Vieder, Ryan Jiba. I think both Miller and Milanese they've been very capable in that position. But seeing what they can do against an MLS side is they're both unproven in that. Lexi and Junior, I'm not worried about. Shaft, no. Shaft is going to do what Shaft is going to do. It'd be interesting to see if Dion is fit and if he starts in place just for the sake of having another veteran on the field. But as you said, they're such a young team that having younger guys out there who can keep pace, can stay fit for longer in the match, I think might be a boon. And then sub in some of your veterans later in the game if the scoreline allows for it.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if St. Louis throws in their top quality guys if this game is still 0-0 in the 65th minute. I would not be surprised. So it wouldn't be bad to maybe get Dion in there at that exact same time or something to counter that. But I'm sure Dion is going to want to play the entire game. But I mean,
I don't think there's a guy on our roster who doesn't want to play the entire game.
Exactly.
I really think this is going to come down to Union Omaha's defense, and it's really going to be a telling. Not so much our scoring, because if we can take it to PKs, Shido has shown up in that. He didn't last game or 2 games ago, but in a penalty shootout, he has shown an ability there.
He stood on his head against Chicago.
Exactly. And you throw Berkey in there, he's got more experience than Shido on that. But if they're not throwing Berkey in there, if they're throwing Lunt in there, if they're pulling from their 2 side, that might be the right time for us to try and push for a draw.
Yeah.
No, I would not be upset with a 0-0 draw at the end of 90 and somehow squeak out to PKs.
All right, let's give our predictions here, Luke, because I'm ready to give mine. I'm going 2-0 St. Louis. Sorry, everyone. I think it stays 0-0 through 45, but I think it's 2 goals back-to-back using speed in around the 60th minute. That's what I think. I think we look a lot. I think Union Omaha looks a lot better, and I think it's 0-0 after 45. And then, but St. Louis just shows their MLS strength in the latter half of the 90.
All right. Do I put the soundbite in now?
Yes.
All right. It's going to be 3-0 Union Omaha.
Oh, let's go. Book it. Get over to Ameristar and Council Bluffs. Let's go.
But in actuality, I think it's going to entirely depend on the first 30 minutes. If Union Omaha can force the set pieces, draw the fouls, put pressure on St. Louis, force them to kind of bunker down, I think we can pull out a draw. If St. Louis gets it in the first 10 minutes, first 20 minutes, I think you're fair on a 2-0 St. Louis win.
Yeah, the goal is to make it ugly as possible. I mean, no one's gonna enjoy watching this game if you're an Omaha fan. Like, this is gonna be nasty if you want to win this game.
This is going to be a very, very brutal game if played the way I want it to be played.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there are multiple cards on both sides. Like, the question is, have you watched enough Union Omaha this season to make this question or provide an answer for the question I'm going to ask? Is kind of my thought.
Find out.
Who does Union Omaha sacrifice to draw a red?
Oh man! Shout out my boy Ed Gordon. Let's go.
Eddie, you are the sacrificial lamb. Oh.
That's a great question, Luke.
But I mean, really, like that is one of the avenues I could see us doing, is throw it on a sacrificial lamb, a guy who's smaller, like Eddie, like Yoskar, who are just going to get bowled over. Like, if they've been working on their tumbling classes, they've been doing their diving training, draw a red, come off with an injury, sub on one of our more experienced, our bigger, more physical guys. I think we can pull it. Again, if we can draw a couple fouls in their final third, Joe Brito's crosses, Shaft's crosses into the box with the JP there, with Dos Santos there, with Lexi in there, we can pull something.
Right.
But it's all about it's how physical St. Louis is going to be. And considering they're coming off 2 days rest and travel from Colorado back, that's a flight. I don't know when their flight was out. I know MLSPA allowed more charter or push for more chartered flights. Yeah. I don't know if they sprung for that option on this one. But assuming they flew commercial, assuming they didn't get as much rest as they needed, are they going to be playing sloppier? Because that could be a huge thing. And I want to say St. Louis 2 was up in Utah against the Monarchs this past weekend. So they're not looking at much. Let me fact check myself. No, I guess they played Colorado Rapids 2. Oh, they're playing them right now.
There you go. Recording on a Sunday.
Yep, we're recording on a Sunday. So if they're doing a chartered flight for both teams that's coming back today, that gives them Monday to train and rest.
Yeah.
And going into Tuesday, they could be sloppy enough.
Mm-hmm.
They could be playing more physical, which would be a benefit to us.
And the
Get the
crazy thing
guys
is like, all right, let's start hypothesizing here. Let's have fun with this. Like, what if Union Omaha advances? They could be playing Tulsa Athletic. I mean,
no, it is it
they're in the
Tulsa
same.
Athletic?
Yeah,
No, it's oh yeah, it is Tulsa Athletic. It's not FC Tulsa. Sorry. Yeah, the amateur side who's going up against a not informed Sporting. Sporting has
that's
played
putting
9
it
games,
nicely.
has 3 points from 3 draws.
Yes.
Whereas St. Louis is top of the West, 3rd overall, and they're top of the West, tied on points with Seattle and 1 goal differential away. So a very informed St. Louis that if they're sloppy enough, we might be able to squeak something versus Union Omaha advancing, playing a out of form Sporting or a very informed amateur side from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Cinderella story.
Like, I'd have to be rooting for Tulsa in that one. I'm going to be honest. Like that's one of those. Though the supporters who went up to Minnesota last year pulled out the USL versus everyone. That's a Midwest Premier League or NPSL versus everybody banner right there, and like that would be a fun match.
Yeah, and the fun thing is both of the games are starting at the same time, so that's kind of cool too.
Well, it's fun, but it also sucks because I can't be watching that other one.
That's true.
At the same time.
Good point.
Though we'll know the result by the end of the Union Omaha game, hopefully.
That's right. Okay, can we get into our cultural differences?
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Okay, so toasted raviolis versus Omaha steaks. Okay, pretty easy here.
I mean, you're going toasted rav, aren't you?
Well, I mean, come on, a toasted ravioli. I mean, it's the poor man's food. Not everyone can afford an Omaha steak. But
it's a bad pierogi. It's a bad pierogi.
Let me tell you guys something. Let me tell all y'all, especially you guys going down to the St. Louis to the game, right inside the concourse, right where they're selling beer. There's a stand right next to it that only sells toasted raviolis. It's they call it a TRavs stand. And all they're doing, I saw them, is just dumping toasted ravs in a fryer, and they're just handing them out. And let me tell you, if that's not American soccer culture, I don't know what is. Because that is gorgeous.
Would it end up on the Scran feed?
It should. It really should. Tag the Scran feed if you're getting toasted ravs. We also need to talk about the Owl City group of St. Louis. Okay, these guys are, wow, really, really stealing the Union Omaha, I don't know, slogans, the use of owls for some weird reason for St. Louis. I mean, we should cease and desist them, right?
I mean, I think if there's going to be a fight, it's going to be in Owl City and Parliament, right? Like that's got it.
For anyone that doesn't know, there's a Twitter account of this fan who loves St. Louis, and for some reason he calls himself Owl City. I don't know why, but he makes every St. Louis city post with owls in it, which is actually pretty funny and cool, but it's also kind of weird because they're not really nicknamed the Owls, so I don't really get it.
Manifest your destiny.
So he's like, it's kind of weird. It's like, for him, it must be really weird. It must be like when Nebraska basketball plays Creighton basketball. You know, who do you root for? Obviously, you root for the Creighton Blue Jays, but for him, I mean, like, what are you gonna choose? The team actually named after owls, or your St. Louis team? Who knows?
Well, Owl City, St. Louis, if you are listening to this, find me, and we'll settle this.
like men with peregrines on our shoulders.
Like, we'll either provide you a scarf so you can become a Union Omaha fan, or we're going to take over your Twitter account.
Look that guy up. I gotta find this. I'll find this for everyone.
We'll find him.
So funny.
All right. St. Louis beer versus Omaha beer.
Oh, I mean, whew.
Does St. Louis City have a beer yet?
Yeah, it's a Schlafly beer.
Okay, so Union Omaha beer is better.
Why?
It's a pint 9 beer.
That's pretty good. That's a good beer, actually. I've had that plenty of times.
Yeah.
But no, like, mate, like, if you like Budweiser, I mean, you're kind of in the hole there. That's St. Louis's beer.
Well, maybe you're part of woke culture, and I can't even finish that.
But yeah, Schlafly beers are good though. Schlafly beers are pretty good.
They're passable. They're passable at best.
Passable, okay.
Like, I would slam a few, but I would not be drinking them for taste.
For taste. I mean, I guess St. Louis is such a rich Four Hands Brewing. That's a good brewery in St. Louis.
All right.
They're the ones that make Citywide. That's a good beer too.
Okay, I'll check out Four Hands. And then I will report back on this.
Report back. Don't drink more than 2. You won't be able to report back.
You don't know me.
All right, the Twitter account for our Owl City is @OwlCitySC. So enjoy it. They just have a lot of owls in St. Louis stuff. It's kind of crazy, actually.
I mean, if they make a owl toasted Rav, I might try a toasted Rav.
Whoa! Don't get PETA involved there.
Hey, I'm saying
trying
owl
to eat
shaped.
Any owls.
Rivers.
Oh, good one. I will side with Union Omaha and the Missouri River any day.
The longest river provides more water into the lower Mississippi than the upper Mississippi does. So really, the lower Mississippi should be the Missouri.
I would agree. I mean, I don't know where to start. I've always wanted to go do a kayaking trip from like Omaha all the way to St. Louis. That's a thing people do.
Let's do it.
And like then you get picked up in St. Louis, which is just crazy. That would be a wild journey where you just like in the middle of the night you just take your boats off and camp. It's kind of wild. Yep. So my friends wanted to do it spring break of college, but spring break's like early March. So if you fall in, you'd die.
So it's a little cold.
I was like, you guys
a little cold. Like maybe like July when it's not you're not getting like the ice dams and like everything else, but
exactly.
Landmarks.
The Arch, obviously, gateway to the West. Omaha.
Bob
the bridge. I mean, that's pretty good.
I mean, this is a bridge podcast.
big bridge podcast. Other Union, another Omaha staple.
The Desert Dome.
Oh shoot, that is wow. That is a good landmark, actually.
I mean, it's a geodesic dome. It's a buckyball.
Rosenblatt could have been a good answer. I mean, it doesn't really exist anymore, but
I mean, the Schwab.
The Schwab, the Chuck. They call it the Chuck now.
Well, I'm not calling it the Chuck. It's the Schwab.
All right, how about Jesuit universities? Creighton versus SLU.
I'm gonna let you answer that. You're the practicing Catholic.
Well, we'll take Creighton on that one. Roll James.
Right. Team owners.
I mean, how do you not like Gary Green? I mean,
you got to go Gary Green. 100% Gary Green. I'm just saying, like St. Louis isn't even giving Gary a suite. Gary's still showing up.
Yeah.
Gonna be in the supporter section. Like,
shout out Gary. Give me some swag. Send me some swag down here in Kansas. I do. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Do you remember? I'll try and find the tweet so you can send it out on the Who Gives a Twitter account. But do you remember after Union Omaha lost to Sporting KC, someone graffitied a wall down here in downtown KC, the final score?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I walked by that like on a walk with my girlfriend like 2 days afterwards. It was hilarious. It was the most rent-free thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I mean, honestly, looking at last season and looking at this season so far, they need something to like live for.
Yeah. So maybe we could get some graffiti on the arch of the final score on Tuesday. That could be good. Maybe you can go to federal prison. Like it's a landmark.
There are some people who listen to this podcast that I will not name because I know based on Sporting's security last year, they were monitoring all feeds. But you know who you are. Union Omaha wins. Do it.
Shout out.
Supporter culture.
Supporter culture is stupid.
No. In stadium supporter culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
One's a soccer stadium, one's a baseball diamond.
But as far as how they're a first-year MLS side, do they have a good supporter section?
The supporter section was crazy when I went to the game. It was wild. Lots of flags that are like 30 feet in the air that you'd see in like the Bundesliga or something, and they're constantly going. And I made a comment. I was like, man, that would suck to sit behind the guy that's waving that thing. You can't see anything. Like, what are you doing? But they have a bunch of those, which is kind of cool. Chant wise, not that many creative chants. I think they're still trying to find their footing on that. Whereas, I feel like Union Omaha, the fans have actually created some like songs and stuff that are like pretty niche, which is pretty cool. But the pretty basic St. Louis chants, like that you'd see in any MLS stadium. A lot of the same Sporting KC chants, like when they do the corner kick or something where it's make everyone like clap and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fans go crazy. I mean, you can't knock that.
All right.
Of course, an inaugural season. But originality of songs, take it, Union Omaha. There you go. There's a win.
There's a win. All right. We've already gone score prediction. Let's do one hot take for this game.
Okay. Hottest take would be Union Omaha advancing, but a more realistic thing, Union Omaha grabs the first goal. I think.
Right.
Who knows if they win, but if they grab the first goal in the first like 15, 20 minutes, like that's kind of a hot take, but that would be really sick. That would be if like Noah Mesa's like scores the first goal into St. Louis's supporter section. Like that would be so badass.
I'd be ecstatic for that because I just know he's probably got something worked up in his head. He's he seems like such a generally like a reserved guy.
Yeah.
But I got to imagine his celebration for that would just be insane.
Luke, my new favorite celebration is the Jesse Marsh after he beat Liverpool, and he's like doing the snapping of his hands. Can you imagine if Noe scores and he's like running into the supporter section? That's like my new favorite celebration. It's so cringe and lame, but it's so hilarious.
That's third division soccer at its finest.
It would be awesome if the guys had something coined up for like a real celebration. Like when the South Africans scored a goal in the World Cup in 2010 and they all did the dance. Like that'd be awesome.
Yes.
If the team all had like some dance. I know they don't, but that would be hilarious to do.
I'd be for that. All right. My hot take. I think Yoskar sees minutes.
That would be really cool. Talk about
I think
trying to get guys elevated and possibly some looks.
Yeah,
that's a good shout.
I think it'll be if we get to extra time, but I think Yoskar's on the bench and Yoskar sees minutes. And also Eddie is going to get fouled significantly, break a leg. Love you, Eddie.
Whoa!
Love you, Eddie.
Hot take. Oh,
just minor fracture. He'll be back in a month.
And scoring a brace. No pun intended.
All right. Union Omaha does have a game this following weekend. It's the first one back at Werner Park. It's probably going to be cold because it's Union Omaha in April.
Yep.
I'll try to get something out there before, but that's against
the forced rivalry of Northern Colorado.
I mean, it's Madison all over again, except Madison actually has decent supporters. Yeah, I think we throw everything at St. Louis, and no,
got nothing to lose.
See how it. Yeah, we'll see how Hailstorm goes.
That's the fun thing, though. Like, final thought, like Union Omaha did what it's supposed to do in the Open Cup. They got to the MLS team. Now playing with half money. Like, I feel like the most pressure was playing El Paso, and like we want to win. Like, we got to win. So
we came out hungry there.
Yeah,
we came out hungry against a higher division side. We showed that we have the chutzpah. Like we're able to take it to that next level if we need to. But
no slouch, El Paso right now has 3 wins of 7. So like,
yeah,
we're middle of the table in the championship right now. So like, that's a really good win. I mean, obviously, but that should give the team confidence too, rolling in.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts?
Always a pleasure being on your show, Luke. I remember the glory days of starting off with you, and look at us now. Who would have thought we're playing a team in St. Louis?
Yeah. And it's not a championship team in St. Louis.
It is not.
Rest in peace. All right. One final question for you, Liam. Who gives a hoot?
Oh, baby. We do.
We do.